Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with legendary jazz percussionist Steve Kroon. He opened up with Neon Jazz about his latest 2018 CD, In Your Dreams, and so much more. He's been a professional musician for the last 50 years. He was born in Harlem and lived there until 9. In 57, he moved to Queens, and he has appeared on 7 platinum albums, 15 world tours, and 2 live video performances, and he's even been on The Tonight Show with David Letterman and Jay Leno, as well as the Grammys. He's learned to jam with the likes of Ron Carter, Diana Krall, Stanley Turrentine, and Bette Midler, and so many others. He's got great stories, so please get to know him.
Steve, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, thanks for finding me.
Absolutely. That's what I do. I love it. So let me go ahead and dive right in here and talk to me about your latest CD, In Your Dreams, probably from just the conception of this idea to the reality of it now. How do you feel about it?
Oh, man, this is actually my 6th CD, and I've had the group together now. We've been a live, also performing band for almost 15 years. So as the group keeps evolving and developing and all, you keep looking for different things and all. But how this one came, as I was putting the music together for the CD, a lot of songs sometimes come to me in the middle of the night. Like around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when you wake up, and you're in this beautiful space where it's kind of nice and quiet and peaceful, and it's just a nice time. You know what I mean? There's no sound and all, and that's when this melody came to me for this song. And when that tune came, I said, In Your Dreams, and I said, that's going to be the title of the CD. And I like the title In Your Dreams because at this stage of the game and where I am in my life, I'm still living my dream.
That's beautiful.
So, it's all kind of poetic, When I make CDs, I still have in mind the music and all to be a concept and to mean something. They have us now when you do a CD, everybody wants to take a piece and separate it, They want to buy the eyes or the nose or the ears or the mouth. But it's not that. It's a picture. It's a composition. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And I think the way they have it structured and what they're doing is they're taking away really the creativity and the power of the artist.
It's interesting you say that because we have this reversion. I don't see it as a reversion. I see it as an evolution back to vinyl. And that's the way vinyl was. It was an experience from the artwork to the entirety of it.
Absolutely. Oh, man. You would, the way the whole industry has changed. Before, you go to work, and then on Monday you turn on the radio station and you hear the record, and you say, "Oh, I love this record. I can't wait till Friday. I get paid." I go to Tower or one of these great big stores, and I go in, I buy the record, and you end up buying 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And you pick it up and you turn it around, you see pictures, and you read about this thing and this guy's on it, wow. And the cover was important. Remember the CTI covers and all that,
Oh, man.
The covers were a work of art, man. So it was just a beautiful expression, man, beautiful thing, And you look home to just, taking that record home and playing it 4 or 5 times in a row,
Yep, I remember, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've been at this game for a long time in music. You started in Harlem, and at 9 you moved to Queens. Talk to me about, those are cultural hubs around the world for everything, art, from poetry to music. Talk to me about growing up in those environments.
Absolutely, and I was so glad, so fortunate, because it's the time periods that I lived where I did, too, Well, Harlem was always, even as a child, it was always so unique. And when I was in Harlem as a child, we lived in the projects. And back at that time, the projects, it was, wow, it was so, everybody knew each other, the families, you know what I mean? It was real community-wise. And we were in Spanish Harlem. We were in Johnson Projects, which was 112th and 2nd Avenue. See, my family was first generation from Puerto Rico. And during that same area, man, you had Joe Cuba, was from there, and Tito Puente, and Steve Berrios, and Willie Bobo, and you can name the cats, man. Right in that area, Felipe Luciano, and you had that energy and that vibe, man, and the music, man. You know, during that time wasn't the TV time; it was the radio time. So you walking around, and all you hear is the music coming out of the windows. You know, you'd hear Tito Puente, you'd hear Cotijo, you hear Machito. Machito was in that area too. He lived in Spanish Harlem too. You'd hear, you know, all this music coming out of people's houses and all that. You know, the energy was just incredible. Then when we moved to Queens, we had a kind of a reversal. Because now I move into St. Albans, and St. Albans was, at that time, mostly Afro-American location, where a lot of the great jazz artists were all moving there because they had these nice homes, you know? And instead of projects, people were buying houses. And where I lived, St. Albans, man, in my neighborhood alone, on my block, there was this producer by the name of Henry Glover, which he was like a Quincy Jones at the time. He produced so many different artists, man. Dinah Washington, the Cliftones. He did it all. R&B. He wrote Drown in My Own Tears. He wrote You Give Me Fever. He was like an uncle to me. So I would see all these things, all these musicians coming to his house. He also produced Honky Tonk. Then around the corner lived Eddie Lockjaw Davis, and we knew him well. You know, the thing that was so amazing at this time, being the kids there, we used to cut their grass and wash their cars. So we got to know these artists. You know, it wasn't like they were removed; they were part of the neighborhood. Lester Young, Prez, was 4 blocks away. I went to school with his son. Count Basie was like another 8 blocks away. Around the corner too was Arthur Pricelap. Bubba Johnson, he wrote Since I Fell For You. Brooke Benton. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And it was just so rich with that. So then I had also the mixture with jazz and development, you know, getting this great influences from all the different jazz artists, you know. And there, the same thing too with walking through the streets and hearing all this music. There you would walk in one block, you'd hear Ray Charles, and the next block you would hear, you know, Lockjaw playing something. You hear Count Basie, you hear Duke Ellington. Then you hear some Masakila. You hear Drums of Passion. You hear Eddie Palmieri, Asuka Pate. The mixture was just incredible, man. Music at that time was so explosive. I don't know what generation you're from. Was you around that era? Or
I was born in '72, so I was kind of baptized in jazz later, but I was an '80s kid. So
okay, but the '80s was amazing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the '80s was another kind of freedom, but I'm talking about the '60s and the '60s and the '70s. It was that was something else, man. Beautiful music, man.
You know, and I'd be speckled by those time periods because that's when real change was happening. We talk about, you know, momentous events that happened not only artistically but politically. The '60s was the last great time where this country said, you know what, this is what we want our future to be. This is what we want our children to see. So
absolutely.
I hold a high level of reverence for the '60s in this country because there was a level of push that was refreshing. So,
right. And then we listened to everybody's music. I remember, I loved Carole King, man. You know, all the stuff that she did with, you know, different groups they do, even the R&B groups, man, and, you know, the songs that they were singing, man, the Temptations, you know, the lyrics, you know?
Oh, man. Yeah.
The concepts, I mean, it was about, you know, thought and movement. You had Bob Dylan, you had Curtis Mayfield, you had, you know, Stevie, you know. I mean, it was just so much information out there, you know, and it was all inspirational and uplifting, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Without a doubt.
You know, it was just incredible. And then the '80s, forget it, man. Weather Report and, you know, Return to Forever and Santana and, you know, War. I mean, just the different types of groups, and they all on the same level. They were all putting out excellent Chicago, powerful music that meant something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the jazz, man, forget about it, man. You know, Diz and Train and Miles and, you know, everybody was like then can't leave out a guy like Sly Stone, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the music was just totally art form, you know? And I still believe. I still have dreams, man. I still try to do the best I can.
That's all you can do, man. That's all you can do.
And I think there is, and I will say this, too, because there are some great, incredible new young artists out here, too.
Yeah.
The generation, you can't say that there's a lot of these, to me, it's either one or the other. Either you don't like what they're doing or they're brilliant, you know? So,
well,
there's hope.
That's what we do on the show. You know, it's interesting to take, you know, the era of the 40s and the 50s and contrast that with what's going on today. The level of play, the soul, the heart, it's all there. It's all progressing, and it's great to hear how we've come along with jazz, for sure.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. So it seems to me, based on where you grew up and the cats that were around you and kind of the DNA that you were swimming in, it was almost a foregone conclusion that you were going to become a professional musician. Is that accurate?
Oh, absolutely. Because I've been passionate about music since a child. Me and my brother. My brother really was the one. My older brother, his name was Bobby. He made his transition, but he was a great influence on me. When I was a kid, I wanted to do anything just to be around him. You know what I mean? You know, you have the older brother, but he was amazed that even when like 10 or 11 years old, he always said, man, you know, Steve, you got talent, man. You got, you know, great feel and ideas and all. He was a great mentor to me, and we started all our groups together. You know, we had doo-wop group, we had the Latin jazz group, we had the, you know, R&B group, we had everything together, you know?
Yeah.
And I played back. See, the beautiful thing about the 60s was you had all those bar gigs. The bars were jumping, you know, in New York, man. All the boroughs, it was the bar scene. It wasn't like dance clubs and stuff like that. You had the bars that were really happening. And you played 4 nights, like Thursday to Sunday, and like 4 sets, man, you know, and every weekend it was a place to play. And that's where you really got to really develop and jam, and you know, a lot of musicians will tell you they got a lot of their chops from those clubs. You know what I mean? Because you got to really play, you know. And they don't have places like that to play anymore. They really work your talent out and work your stuff out, you know.
Yeah.
Either it's just going to school and, you know, doing this and getting. There's only 2 forms of it, but the other education of on-the-job training is a whole nother way to learn, man, and develop, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when you're playing in front with people, man, involved, because it's that back and forth thing, you know? That spirit of really getting the audience to really move and want to dance, and, you know. So it was a great time, but yeah, absolutely. I knew at a very early age that this is what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate that when I did hit a certain age, I started working like more steady, like with Luther Vandross. I worked with him when I was 30. And that was really big for me, because then I had all of a sudden working with a real artist, a real star, and doing, you know, big time arenas and festivals and making platinum albums and, you know, getting your name out there. I worked with a lot of other different artists because of that, you know, with the Aretha and recorded, you know, the Temps and Kenny G and Bette Midler, and I mean, a gang of folks, you know. And then I had the good fortune at the same time to start working for Ron Carter. I was with Ron Carter 20 years too. And with him, it was amazing because I would go from playing big festivals and arenas with Luther, and I'd go on tour with Ron and do all the major jazz places, the jazz venues, like the festivals in Europe and Italy and Brazil and Japan, and you know. And wow, I was very fortunate because I got to hear and play a lot of music. You know, and I think because of all of that, and still in my heart, Latin jazz was always, you know, I guess it was my family thing, because my father he had a great record collection, man. My father was, man, as kids, and we had when he knew we liked the music too, he would come home every week with 4 and 5 records, LPs. And I had collections. Amazing. Matter of fact, I inherited all his 78s. and I got 78s of the Diz and Chano, and oh man, the City. I got all the old good stuff, man. You know, and that was always kind of embedded deep in my heart, and that's what I really like to play. I love what I'm playing. I like now that I've worked with other people. What I really love right now at this point is doing me.
You know, the one thing you mentioned is, you know, you've played with a lot of heavy hitters, Luther Vandross, and I mean, you've been on Leno, you've been on Letterman, you've been all around, and even Ron Carter had to be a whole level of jazz education. And help.
Oh, well, who I met with Ron, I mean, the stuff I did with Ron, man, you know, I've worked with him. I met so many great musicians with him, Stanley Turrentine and Hubert Laws, and I mean, it's been amazing. You know, Diana Krall. I've worked with all these people, man, because of the fact that I came through that band. I guess guilty through association, you know.
What do you learn from them? By osmosis, you're going to get something, but there's going to be direct things that are going to help you grow, not only as a musician, but as a person. What did you get from them? Oh,
man, that's a very good question, and since I've been with both of them, I'll name those two outstanding figures, Luther and Ron, because those are the ones I really toured, and when there was a height. And I learned from both of them. You know, the amazing thing about Luther and Ron Carter, they're both Tauruses, which I find to be amazing to have so much. You know, I'm a Capricorn, and I just fit in so good with them. You know, but anyway, from both of them, even though it was two different types of music and two different types of heads, because it's a difference between the jazz and R&B pop kind of type of head, you know. But what I learned from both of them was excellence, professionalism. They both demanded just the same thing. They demanded, you know, for you to be on time, to always be 100% willing to give what you got. You know what I mean? And from them I learned how to really, you know, to be ready, to be alert, you know, to dress properly. I remember Ron always told me that you should always look better than the audience. I love that. I thought that was a very smart thing, you know. And all those real, you know, important things, man, like how to dress, what kind of show, how you present yourself to people, how, you know, you should be at the end of the night, man, because you don't want to be talking in front of people and be, you know, all crazed and all, you know, intoxicated. You know, you have to present yourself in a proper manner, you know, because they're taking notes, you know.
Yeah.
And they all, with my band, I became I consider myself a very good leader because of all the stuff I took away from them. You know, I worked great venues. I know what to ask for. I know how to treat the guys. I know what I didn't like from them either, because there were some things that I didn't like, and I try not to do it with my group. You know, so I learned. Wow, I take my hat off to both of those guys because of them. You know, I'm the musician and leader I am now.
You've been at this for 5 decades plus, and for a lot of that time, you collaborated with folks. For the past 15 years, you've been doing solo things. How does it feel? Does it feel good that you're investing this into your name and who you are?
That's my point now. You know, because you know, at this point in my life, like I said, I did 20 years with Luther, 20 years with Ron, and I did all that stuff, and which was great, you know, and you know, extensive traveling with this one and that one, But I'm enjoying now, like I have 6 CDs of my own name, and it's my own sound, you know. I mean, here's another thing that I asked Ron when I first joined the group. I said to him, Ron, why do you want to be a leader? And he said, because I get to pick the songs. I love that. and that's what I get out of this. I pick the tunes. I pick the ranges that I want. I'm getting so much out of it, man, because I feel that after all said and done, I'm leaving some of me. You know what I mean? I'm leaving some of me. And what more can you want as being an artist? You know, if you could survive, I was lucky enough to survive all the real rough years because I had a good paying job, you know?
Yeah.
And with that, I was able to support myself to be an artist. You know, so now I'm at the point now where, you know, I was pretty smart. I made some good investments into some good things. So let me try to do me. You know, what better way to kind of you know, finish the last chapters and all, you know.
Right on. So let me ask you this: why do you love jazz?
Wow, the thing about jazz is why everybody loves jazz. Jazz, especially if you go all over the world, travel anywhere, Latin, Brazil, you go to Afro-Cuban, go to Africa, you go anywhere. People love jazz because of what the jazz musicians created. You know, between the melodies and the changes and the chord changes and the progressions and you know, just the expression and the free expression and the ability to solo and have instrumentation soloing the forms and playing the art forms and all. It just gave people a nice canvas that whenever you want to do something, you have the canvas, but then you can go beyond it. You know what I mean? Because you have the basic of it. You know, man, the standard jazz tunes and just the development of it. You know, between regular straight ahead jazz and the stuff that Diz and Count Basie did, the changing stuff that you got from Miles and Dizzy Gillespie and you know, the Afro-Cuban, you know, it's just so rich. It gets so much fertilization. It's improvisation, man. That wow, what is there not to like?
Yeah, I dig it.
You know,
totally.
You know, creativity. It's about creativity.
I agree. Totally. You know, you've been on a lot of stages. You've entertained a lot of people. But let me ask you this. Who have you seen on the jazz stage in a live performance that made a profound impact on you?
Oh, wow. Great question. I remember the first time I saw Oscar Peterson. I saw that in Japan. I saw it in Japan with Ron, with Oscar Peterson, the group he had with Ray Brown, and, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, there's great piano players. I played with some great piano players, man. You know, because even with Ron, man, I got to play with Sorolla and Hannah, and you know, so many different great guys, man. Mo Gramilla was in the group, man, and you know, man. But when I saw Oscar Peterson, man, Kenny Barron's another one that's amazing. But when I heard Oscar Peterson, wow, I was just amazed, man. And you know, where his touch and his sound and where he just took the music to, man. I also, Stanley Turrentine. I love saxophone players. That's like one of my favorites. There's so many saxophone players I really am amazed. I mean, but when Stanley had this live sound, man, you know, with just the way he used the microphone, incredible, man. Same thing too when I experienced the Weather Report group, the one that did Heavy Weather with Jocko and all.
Yeah.
The sound that was amazing. You know, certain people just make your hair stand. You know.
Yeah. Totally.
And another thing that Ron told me that was very important is he said that the most important thing for you to do is develop your own sound. To develop your own sound. Another one too is when I can't leave out Tito Puente and Mongo Santa Maria. Whew, wow. The first time I heard him, he just turned my life around, man.
Wow.
His sound, man. The feeling that he gave in those drums, man. You know, there's so many artists that turn me on, but those are some that I really remember that really kind of, you know, took me out. I mean, but I've heard a lot of great musicians, man. Wow. I've been very fortunate. Yeah. So
let me ask you this. This is my final question. It's going to get kind of the heart of the matter here. everyone has a version of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but you know who you are. You know what you're doing. Tell me who you think you are.
Wow, what a beautiful question, man. You know, nobody's really, and you know, I'm talking to you and I'm sitting in my garden because I do my own gardening. And I'm very, very, very good at it because I like to create my own spiritual spaces, you know?
Yeah.
And to really know me, I'm a very kind of a spiritual person in my own way. Not crazed and all that, but one of my favorite sayings is to thy own self be true. And at this point, stage 2 of my life, too, my maturity and the way I'm seeing myself and knowing that it's the last stage of the ride, you know what I mean? I feel that I just want to be the most honest, the most pure, and the most real person that I can be. You know, that's to me is really true. I'm feeling more and more the freedom of not wanting so much or wanting to just be super famous.
The one thing I can tell, I've been doing this for long enough, I could tell by your answer in the very beginning about that restive point in the morning, which I enjoy very much so. I think that tells a lot about who you are and how you create where you're at. So I dig it. It's good. It's been refreshing to talk with you. Thank you for taking some time out for me. I really appreciate not only the music that you put out there, but the fact that you've given the story to Neon Jazz. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for finding me and letting me do it. I really enjoyed it. You asked some incredible questions. I really enjoyed this.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York, Kansas City, and spots all over the globe, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Steve for his time, his music, and his cool. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.